Captain Lee Daeho stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers did not make sense. He had been flying through space for 25 years, and he had never seen readings like these. Dr. Park Mi-young, "Come to the bridge, please," he said into his communication device. The research vessel Taeguk was 3 months into its deep space mission. They were looking for new planets that humans could live on. So far, they had found nothing interesting. Just empty space and dead rocks floating around stars. Dr. Park Mi-young walked onto the bridge. She was the ship's expert on old alien civilizations. She had studied every piece of alien technology that humans had ever found. There was not much to study. In all their years of space travel, humans had found very little proof that other intelligent life existed. "What do you need, Captain?" she asked. "Look at these gravity readings from the Kepler 442 system," Daeho said. "Something is wrong. The gravity is too strong for what we can see." Mi-young looked at the screen. The star system was still far away, but their instruments could measure its gravity pull. The readings showed that something massive was in that system, something much bigger than planets. "This is strange," she said. "According to these numbers, there should be something the size of a small moon, orbiting very close to the star. But our visual scans show nothing." Engineer Kim Tae-min overheard them talking. He left his workstation and joined them. Tae-min was responsible for keeping the ship running. He was also very good at understanding how things worked in space. "Maybe our instruments are broken," he said. "I can run a full check on all systems." "Do that," Daeho said. "But I have a feeling our instruments are working fine." Communications Officer Han So-ra was listening to their conversation. She was an expert in languages and first contact rules. Her job was to talk to any aliens they might meet. So far, she had not had much work to do. "Captain," she said, "I am picking up some strange signals from that system. They are very weak, but they are there." "What kind of signals?" Daeho asked. "I am not sure. They do not match any known natural phenomena. They seem artificial, but the pattern is unlike anything in our databases." The bridge became quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it out loud. In 300 years of space travel, humans had never found proof of intelligent alien life. They had found bacteria and simple plants on a few worlds, but nothing that could build technology. Tae-min finished checking the ship's systems. "All instruments are working perfectly," he said. "The readings are real." Daeho made a decision. "Change course for the Kepler 442 system. We need to see what is causing these readings." "Sir," So-ra said, "Earth Command expects us to report in 2 days. If we change course, we will be late." "Send them a message," Daeho said. "Tell them we found something interesting and need more time to investigate." The Taeguk changed direction and began moving toward the mysterious star system. The journey would take 3 days at their current speed. As they got closer, the strange readings became stronger. Mi-young spent her time studying everything they knew about the Kepler 442 system. It was an old star about 7 billion years old. It was slightly smaller than Earth's sun but still burned brightly. According to their old survey data, the system had 2 small planets, both too close to the star to support life. "There is something I do not understand," she told the others during dinner on the second day. "This star should have planets. Old surveys show 2 planets, but our current scans show nothing." "Maybe the planets fell into the star," Tae-min suggested. "That is possible, but unlikely for both planets," Mi-young said, "and it would not explain the gravity readings." On the 3rd day, they were close enough to get visual contact with the star system. Daeho called everyone to the bridge to see what they had found. "Bring up the visual display," he ordered. The main screen showed the Kepler 442 star. It was a yellow dwarf star burning quietly in space. But something was wrong. The star looked dim, much dimmer than it should be. "Why is the star so dark?" So-ra asked. Tae-min worked at his controls, trying to get a better image. "I am adjusting for distance and brightness. This should give us a clearer picture." The image on the screen changed. Slowly, something incredible began to appear. Around the star, barely visible, was a massive structure. It was like a giant ball with the star inside it. "Is that what I think it is?" Mi-young whispered. Daeho could not speak. He had read about such things in science books, but no one had ever actually seen one. It was called a Dyson sphere, named after an old Earth scientist who first imagined such a thing. "How big is that structure?" he finally asked. Tae-min was working frantically at his controls, trying to measure what they were seeing. "Captain, according to my calculations, that structure is about 300 million kilometers across. It completely surrounds the star." "That is impossible," So-ra said. No civilization could build something that big. Apparently someone did, Mi-young said quietly. The bridge was silent for several minutes as everyone stared at the screen. The structure was so big that it was hard to understand. If Earth was placed next to it, their home planet would look like a grain of sand next to a basketball. Are there any signs of life? Daeho asked. Sora checked her instruments. I am detecting signals from the structure. They are much stronger now. The patterns are complex, but I cannot understand what they mean. How old do you think it is? Taemin asked Mi-young. I have no way to know for sure, she said. But based on the star's age and the fact that we found no records of this in any of our databases, it could be millions of years old. Daeho realized they had just made the most important discovery in human history. This was proof that intelligent alien life existed. Not only did it exist, but it was far more advanced than humans. The technology needed to build a structure around an entire star was beyond human understanding. What do we do now? Taemin asked. We study it, Daeho said. But carefully. We have no idea if whoever built this is still alive. Should we contact Earth Command? Sora asked. Yes, but first we need more information. I want detailed scans of the entire structure. Look for any signs of current activity. For the next several hours, the crew of the Taeguk studied the massive alien structure. They discovered that it was not just a simple shell around the star. The surface was covered with geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with their own light. There were structures that looked like cities, but they were bigger than Earth's continents. Captain, Mi-young said, I think we are looking at the greatest archaeological discovery in history. This structure represents a level of technology that we can barely imagine. The question is, Daeho said, who built it, and are they still here? Earth Command was not happy about the delayed report. When Captain Daeho finally sent his message about the Dyson sphere, the response took 6 hours to arrive due to the great distance. Admiral Choi Jun-sik appeared on the communication screen with a serious expression. Captain Lee, your report is hard to believe. Are you certain about what you have found? Yes, Admiral, Daeho replied. I am sending all our scan data with this message. You will see that we are not mistaken. If this is real, then everything changes. Stay at a safe distance and do not approach the structure. We are sending additional ships and specialists to help you study this discovery. The next few days were busy. The crew continued scanning the Dyson sphere while waiting for help to arrive. Dr. Park, Mi-young spent most of her time studying the patterns on the structure's surface. These are not random designs, she told the others during a meeting. They follow mathematical rules. I think they might be some kind of writing system. Writing that covers an entire star? Engineer Kim Taemin asked. That would be billions of words. Maybe it is not words like we use, Mi-young said. Maybe it is something else. Instructions, maps, or records of some kind. Communications Officer Han So-ra had been working on the signals coming from the structure. The signals are getting stronger. It is almost like the structure knows we are here and is trying to communicate with us. This worried Captain Daeho. Are you saying the structure is responding to our presence? I cannot be sure, Sora said. But the signal patterns have changed since we arrived. They are more complex now. 2 weeks later, the first ships from Earth arrived. Admiral Choi Jun-sik came aboard the Taeguk with several specialists. Dr. Yoon Hye-jin was a theoretical physicist who studied energy systems. Pilot Nam Ki-young was chosen to fly reconnaissance missions when they were ready to get closer to the structure. Admiral Choi was amazed when he saw the Dyson sphere for himself. In all my years in space, I never imagined we would find something like this. How do we even begin to study it? We start with what we can observe from here, Dr. Yoon Hye-jin said. The energy readings from this structure are incredible. It is collecting almost all the light and heat from the star and converting it into usable power. Power for what? Admiral Choi asked. That is what we need to find out, she replied. The team began building a research station at a safe distance from the Dyson sphere. They called it Sejong Base, after a famous Korean king who loved learning and discovery. The station would allow them to study the structure for months or even years. Dr. Mi-young made the first major breakthrough. She discovered that the geometric patterns on the sphere's surface were indeed a form of writing. But unlike any writing system humans had ever seen, instead of words or symbols, the patterns were three-dimensional mathematical equations. Look at this, she showed the others. These patterns describe mathematical concepts that we are only beginning to understand. Some of them show equations for manipulating gravity. Others show formulas for energy conversion that are far beyond our current science. You mean the surface of the sphere is like a giant textbook? Taemin asked. More than that, Mi-young said. It is like a complete encyclopedia of advanced science and mathematics. Han-Sora had been working with the communication signals. She made her own discovery. The signals are not random. They follow the same mathematical patterns as the writing on the surface. I think the sphere is trying to teach us how to read the patterns. This was exciting news. It meant that whoever built the sphere wanted others to learn from it. But it also raised new questions. If the builders wanted to share knowledge, why make it so difficult to understand? Dr. Yoon Hee-jin found something even more interesting. The energy output from the sphere is changing. It started small, but each day it gets a little stronger. The sphere is definitely responding to our presence. Is that dangerous? Admiral Choi asked. I do not think so, she said. The energy changes are very controlled. It is almost like the sphere is slowly turning on systems that have been sleeping for a long time. Pilot Nam Ki-young had been studying the sphere's surface, looking for any place where they might be able to dock a ship. There are structures on the surface that look like docking ports, he reported. They are much larger than our ships, but they seem to have mechanisms that could adjust to smaller vessels. You want to actually land on that thing? Taemin asked. Eventually we will have to, Admiral Choi said. We cannot learn everything we need to know from a distance. The research continued for several weeks. Each day brought new discoveries. The sphere was not just a simple shell around the star. It had layers like the rings of a tree. Each layer seemed to serve a different purpose. Some layers collected energy, others seemed to store information, and some appeared to contain living spaces, though they were far too large for any creature humans could imagine. Dr. Mi-young made another important discovery. I have been studying the mathematical patterns and I found something amazing. These equations do not just describe advanced science, they describe the science of multiple different civilizations. What do you mean? Admiral Choi asked. The mathematical systems are different, she explained. Some use base 10 numbers like humans, others use base 8, base 12, and some I cannot even understand. This suggests that many different species contributed to the knowledge stored on this sphere. This revelation changed everything. The sphere was not built by just one alien civilization. It was built by many civilizations working together. But where were they now? Were they still alive somewhere or had they vanished long ago? Han-Sora made progress with the communication signals. I think I understand part of what the sphere is saying. It keeps sending the same basic message over and over. Something about waiting. It has been waiting for something. Waiting for what? Admiral Choi asked. I'm not sure yet. The mathematics are very complex. But I think it has been waiting for someone to find it. Someone capable of understanding basic mathematics and space travel. It has been waiting for us, Dr. Yoon Hee-jin said quietly. The team realized they were dealing with something far more significant than just an alien structure. The Dyson sphere was some kind of test or invitation. It had been left by advanced civilizations for younger species to find when they became ready for space travel. We need to get closer, Admiral Choi decided. We need to understand what this sphere really is and what it wants from us. Captain Dae-ho agreed, but he was worried. If we approach the sphere, we might trigger some kind of response. We have no idea what safety systems it might have. That is a risk we have to take, Admiral Choi said. This discovery is too important to study only from a distance. Preparations began for the first manned mission to the Dyson sphere. Pilot Nam Ki-young would fly a small shuttle to one of the docking ports. Dr. Mi-young would go with him to study the alien writing systems up close. Dr. Yoon Hye-jin would monitor energy readings, and Han-Sora would try to establish direct communication with whatever systems controlled the sphere. As they prepared for this historic mission, everyone understood that they were about to take the first step into a larger universe. The Dyson sphere represented knowledge and technology beyond human understanding. But it also represented hope that humans were not alone in the universe, and that other intelligent species wanted to share their wisdom with newcomers like humanity. The shuttle Hanbok moved slowly toward the Dyson sphere. Pilot Nam Ki-young kept his hand steady on the controls, but his heart was beating fast. He was about to become the first human to touch an alien structure. Dr. Park Mi-young sat beside him, watching the sphere grow larger on their screen. From this close, she could see details that were impossible to observe from Sejong Base. The geometric patterns covered every part of the surface, and they seemed to move and change as she watched. The patterns are shifting, she told the team back at the base through her communication device. They are definitely responding to our approach. Dr. Yoon Hee-jin monitored their approach from the research station. Energy readings are increasing steadily. The sphere is powering up systems as you get closer. Is that dangerous? Admiral Choi Jun-sik asked. I do not think so, Hee-jin replied. The energy is controlled and directed. It seems like the sphere is preparing to receive visitors. Security Chief Lim Jae-hyun was not happy about the mission. He had been a soldier before joining the space program, and he did not like sending people into unknown situations. We should have sent an unmanned probe first, he told the Admiral. We discussed this, Admiral Choi said. The sphere seems to respond only to the presence of living beings. A probe might not trigger the same responses. Navigator. Oh Min-kyung was tracking the shuttle's path through the complex gravitational fields around the sphere. Ki-young, adjust your course 2 degrees to the left. The gravitational currents are stronger than expected. Understood, Ki-young replied. He made the adjustment and continued toward the docking port they had selected. It was one of hundreds of similar structures on the sphere's surface, each one large enough to hold a ship much bigger than their shuttle. As they got closer, something amazing happened. The docking port began to change. Parts of it moved and adjusted, making it smaller and more suitable for their tiny shuttle. Did you see that? Mi-young asked excitedly. The sphere is adapting to our ship, Ki-young said. It knows exactly what size we are. Dr. Bae Sung-ho was watching from the base with great interest. He was a biologist who studied alien life forms. So far, he had found no signs of biological life on the sphere, but he was beginning to suspect that life on the sphere might be very different from what humans expected. The adaptation shows intelligence, he said. Something is controlling the sphere's systems and making decisions about how to respond to us. The docking process was surprisingly smooth. The alien port guided their shuttle into position and secured it with mechanisms that seemed to understand exactly how human ships were built. Docking complete, Ki-young reported. All systems are stable. Are you detecting any atmosphere on the other side of the airlock? Admiral Choi asked. Mi-young checked her instruments. Yes, and it is breathable. The mixture is almost identical to Earth's atmosphere. How is that possible? The sphere adjusted the atmosphere for us just like it adjusted the docking port, Hyejin said from the base. We are dealing with technology that can analyze and adapt to different species. Ki-young and Mi-young put on their spacesuits anyway. Even though the atmosphere seemed safe, they could not take chances. They opened the shuttle's airlock and stepped into the alien structure. The first thing they noticed was the size. The corridor they entered was huge, designed for beings much larger than humans. But as they walked, sections of the corridor began to adjust, making the ceiling lower and the walkway narrower. It is making itself comfortable for us, Mi-young said in wonder. The walls are covered with the same patterns we saw from outside, Ki-young observed, but here they are moving and changing constantly. They walked deeper into the structure, following a corridor that seemed to lead toward the center. As they moved, lights came on ahead of them and dimmed behind them, as if the sphere was guiding their path. After walking for 10 minutes, they entered a vast chamber. The room was so large that they could not see the far walls. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above them. But the most amazing thing was what filled the chamber. Thousands of crystal structures hung in the air, each one glowing with soft light. The crystals were different sizes and shapes, some as small as human hands, others as large as buildings. They seemed to float without any support, rotating slowly in complex patterns. What are those? Ki-young asked. Mi-young was studying the readings on her instruments. They are information storage devices. Each crystal contains vast amounts of data. How much data? Admiral Choi asked from the base. More than all the computers on Earth combined, she replied. And there are thousands of them in this chamber alone. As they watched, one of the smaller crystals floated down toward them. It stopped about 2 meters away and began to pulse with different colors. I think it wants to communicate with us, Mi-young said. Suddenly, images began to appear in the air around the crystal. They showed scenes of space, stars, planets, and different kinds of alien beings. The images moved and changed, telling a story without words. It is showing us the history of the galaxy, Ki-young said in amazement. The images showed many different civilizations rising and falling over millions of years. Some species were similar to humans, walking on 2 legs and using tools. Others were completely different, floating through space or living in gas clouds around stars. But the most important part of the story came at the end. The images showed how different civilizations began to work together, sharing knowledge and building great structures like the Dyson sphere. This sphere is a library, Mi Young realized. It contains the knowledge of all the civilizations that helped build it. Dr. Bae Sung-ho was analyzing the biological data from the shuttle's sensors. I am detecting energy signatures that suggest artificial life forms. Not biological life, but something else. Something that exists as pure energy. Are you saying there are energy beings living in the sphere? Admiral Choi asked. I think so, Bae replied. The patterns match theoretical models for consciousness that exists without physical form. As if responding to their conversation, the crystal in front of Ki Young and Mi Young began to change. The light inside it swirled and formed shapes that looked almost like faces. Hello? A voice said inside their heads. It did not come through their communication devices, but seemed to speak directly to their minds. Ki Young and Mi Young looked at each other in shock. They were experiencing first contact with an alien intelligence. We are the Keepers, the voice continued. We have been waiting for your species to find us. Who are you? Mi Young asked out loud. We are what remains of the civilizations that built this sphere. Our bodies died long ago, but we preserved our consciousness in these crystals. We maintain this place and protect the knowledge it contains. Why have you been waiting for us? Ki Young asked. Because your species has reached the level of development where you can benefit from the knowledge stored here. You have learned to travel between stars, and you have shown curiosity about the universe. These are the signs we look for. The crystal showed them more images. These pictures showed humans throughout history, learning and growing and eventually reaching into space. You have been watching us, Mi Young asked. We watch all species that show potential. When a civilization becomes ready, they always find one of our spheres. There are many spheres like this one scattered throughout the galaxy. This revelation was overwhelming. Humanity was not alone, and they had been watched and judged by ancient alien intelligences. But the news was also hopeful. The Keepers seemed friendly and wanted to help humanity learn and grow. What happens now? Ki Young asked. Now you must prove that your species is ready for the knowledge we can share. There are tests you must pass. Only species that show wisdom, compassion, and unity are given access to our archives. The crystal began to fade, and the Keeper's voice became quieter. Return to your people. Prepare them for what is to come. When you are ready, we will begin the tests. Ki Young and Mi Young stood alone in the vast chamber, surrounded by thousands of crystals containing the knowledge of extinct civilizations. They realized that humanity was about to face the most important challenge in its history. The news of first contact with the Keepers spread quickly through the human fleet. Back at Sejong Base, Admiral Choi Jun-sik called an emergency meeting with all department heads. The weight of the situation was enormous. Let me understand this correctly, Admiral Choi said. These energy beings want to test humanity before giving us access to advanced alien technology? Dr. Park Mi-young nodded. The Keepers were very clear. They have knowledge from thousands of civilizations, but they only share it with species that prove they are ready. Captain Lee Dae-ho had many concerns. What kind of tests are we talking about? And what happens if we fail? The Keepers did not give us details, Pilot Nam Ki-young replied. They said they would explain when we are ready to begin. Security Chief Lim Jae-hyun was worried about the safety of the crew. We are dealing with beings who have technology beyond our understanding. If these tests are dangerous, we could lose people. Dr. Yoon Hye-jin had been studying the energy readings from the sphere since the first contact. The energy patterns have changed significantly. The sphere is preparing for something big. Engineer Kim Tae-min was thinking about the practical aspects. If we pass these tests, we gain access to technology that could change everything for humanity. But if we fail, we might be seen as unworthy and cut off from this knowledge forever. The team decided to send a message to Earth Command, explaining the situation and asking for guidance. The response would take many hours to arrive due to the distance, so they had time to prepare. Dr. Bae Sung-ho continued his analysis of the energy beings. From what I can detect, the Keepers are not just individual consciousness. They seem to be connected, sharing thoughts and memories. They represent the combined wisdom of many different species. Navigator Oh Min-kyung had been studying the historical images shown by the Keepers. The civilizations in those images spanned millions of years. Some of them had technology that could move planets or control the evolution of stars. The knowledge they left behind could solve every problem humanity faces. 3 days later, the response from Earth arrived. The message was from President Kang Ye-jin herself, along with the top scientists and philosophers on Earth. The decision to take these tests must not be made lightly, President Kang said in her message. The consequences affect all of humanity, not just those of you at the sphere. However, we cannot pass up this opportunity. Proceed with the tests, but be extremely careful. The message also included advice from Dr. Seo Dong-wook, Earth's leading philosopher. Remember that these tests likely focus on character rather than knowledge. The keepers want to know what kind of species we are, not how much we know. Admiral Choi made the decision. We will return to the sphere and tell the keepers we are ready for their tests. This time, a larger team would go to the sphere. Along with Ki-young and Mi-young, they would bring Taemin for his technical skills, Communications Officer Han So-ra for her language abilities, and Dr. Bae Sung-ho to study the energy beings more closely. When they arrived at the sphere, the docking process was even smoother than before. The sphere seemed to recognize their shuttle and guided it to a different docking port, one closer to the chamber where they had met the keepers. The corridor leading to the chamber had changed. Now it was perfectly sized for humans, and the walls displayed images showing human history and achievements. The sphere was adapting completely to their presence. In the crystal chamber, thousands of keepers were waiting. The energy beings appeared as lights within their crystals, and their combined presence made the air itself seem to hum with power. Welcome back, the voice of the keepers spoke in their minds. Are you ready to begin the tests? We are ready, Admiral Choi said, speaking for all humanity. The tests are 3, the keepers explained. Each test represents a quality that advanced civilizations must possess. The first test is compassion. The second is wisdom. The third is unity. The chamber around them began to change. The crystals moved and arranged themselves into new patterns, creating a space that looked like a courtroom or a place of judgment. The first test begins now, the keepers announced. Suddenly, the humans found themselves looking at a holographic display showing a distant star system. 2 planets orbited the star and both had intelligent life. One planet had a civilization that was very advanced with cities and technology. The other planet had a simpler civilization, more like humans were thousands of years ago. The advanced civilization has developed a disease, the keepers explained. It is spreading through their population and will destroy them within a few years. They have the technology to escape to other worlds, but their ships can only carry half their population. The display showed the advanced beings debating what to do. Some wanted to save themselves by leaving their world. Others wanted to stay and try to find a cure. The simple civilization on the other planet has a natural immunity to this disease, the keepers continued. If the advanced beings could study this immunity, they could develop a cure. But taking the biological samples they need would require experimenting on the simple beings, possibly harming or killing some of them. The humans realized they were being presented with a moral dilemma. What would humanity choose? The keepers asked. Save yourselves or risk everything to protect a less advanced species? The team discussed the problem quietly among themselves. Dr. Bae Sung-ho argued that the advanced civilization should find another way to get the biological samples without harming the simple beings. Han So-ra suggested that the advanced beings should try to communicate with the simple civilization and ask for help voluntarily. Dr. Mi-young had a different idea. The advanced civilization should share their technology with the simple beings, helping them develop quickly. Then they could work together as equals to solve the problem. Admiral Choi listened to all the suggestions, then spoke to the keepers. Humanity would choose to communicate honestly with the simple civilization. We would explain the situation and ask for their help. We would also share our knowledge and technology with them, so they could make an informed decision about helping us. And if they refuse to help? The keepers asked. Then we would respect their decision and look for other solutions, Admiral Choi replied. We would not harm innocent beings to save ourselves. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then the keeper spoke again. You have passed the first test. Compassion means putting the welfare of others before your own survival. The second test began immediately. This time the display showed a different scenario. A civilization had developed technology that could provide unlimited energy and end all resource scarcity. But using this technology required destroying an entire solar system, including several planets with simple life forms. This civilization faces a choice, the keepers explained. They can use this technology and create a paradise for themselves, but they must destroy billions of life forms to do it. What would humanity choose? Engineer Taemin spoke first. The short-term benefits are not worth the long-term consequences. Destroying life to create convenience is wrong, Dr. Yoon Hee-jin agreed. True advancement means finding solutions that do not require destruction. A civilization that destroys life for comfort will eventually destroy itself. Admiral Choi gave their answer. Humanity would reject this technology and continue searching for solutions that do not require destroying life. Wisdom means thinking about the future, not just the present. You have passed the second test, the keepers announced. Wisdom means understanding that some prices are too high to pay. The third test was different from the others. Instead of showing them a scenario, the keepers presented them with a choice about humanity itself. If you pass all our tests, we will give you access to our knowledge, the keepers said. But this knowledge comes with responsibility. You must use it to help other civilizations, just as we are helping you. You must become keepers yourselves, dedicating your civilization to preserving knowledge and helping younger species. This means humanity will become servants of the galaxy, the keepers continued. You will give up the option to focus only on yourselves. You will spend your resources and energy helping others even when it does not benefit you directly. The team looked at each other. This was not a decision they could make alone. It would affect all of humanity for generations to come. We need to consult with our leaders on Earth, Admiral Choi said. You have time, the keepers replied, but understand that this choice is permanent. Once you accept the responsibility of being keepers, there is no going back. The humans returned to their shuttle, carrying with them the weight of the most important decision in human history. The knowledge of the galaxy was within their reach, but the price was dedicating their entire civilization to helping others. As they flew back to Sejong Base, they knew that humanity stood at a crossroads that would determine their future among the stars. The message to Earth carried the most important question in human history. President Kang Ye-jin called an emergency session of the Global Council, bringing together leaders from every nation and colony. At Sejong Base, the crew waited for Earth's response while continuing to study the Dyson sphere. The keepers had gone silent after presenting the final test, but the sphere itself remained active. Its energy pattern suggested it was preparing for something significant. Dr. Park Mi-young spent her time analyzing the mathematical patterns on the sphere's surface. She had made amazing discoveries about the knowledge contained there. The information stored here could advance human science by thousands of years, she told Admiral Choi Jun-sik. We could solve hunger, disease, energy shortages, and even learn to extend human life indefinitely. Engineer Kim Tae-min was excited about the technological possibilities. The energy systems alone could power all of human civilization for millions of years. We could build our own megastructures and spread life throughout the galaxy. But Security Chief Lim Jae-hyun had concerns. If we accept this responsibility, humanity becomes a servant to alien goals. We would be forced to help species we do not even know, possibly putting human lives at risk. Dr. Bae Sung-ho had been thinking about the philosophical implications. Maybe being a keeper is not about serving others. Maybe it is about growing beyond the need to think only about ourselves. Navigator Oh Min-kyung raised practical questions. How would this work? Would we have to abandon our colonies and dedicate all our resources to helping aliens? Communications Officer Han Sora had been reviewing the historical records shown by the keepers. Every civilization that became keepers seemed to flourish. They did not sacrifice their own people. They found ways to help others while also helping themselves. The debate continued for days while they waited for Earth's response. Some crew members thought humanity should accept the responsibility and gain access to unlimited knowledge. Others worried that the price was too high and would change human nature forever. Captain Lee Dae-ho tried to remain neutral, but he could see both sides of the argument. The question is not whether we want the knowledge, he said during one discussion. The question is whether we are ready for the responsibility that comes with it. Dr. Yoon Hye-jin made an important observation. The keepers have been testing us all along, not just with the formal tests, but by watching how we handle this discovery. They want to see how we make decisions as a species. 5 days later, Earth's response arrived. President Kang Ye-jin appeared on the communication screen, but she was not alone. Behind her stood representatives from every major government, religion, and cultural group on Earth. "We have debated this question for days," President Kang said. "The decision affects not just our current generation, but all future generations of humanity." After much discussion, we have reached a unanimous conclusion. Admiral Choi held his breath, waiting for the answer that would determine humanity's future. "Humanity accepts the responsibility of becoming keepers," President Kang announced. "We believe that helping others is not a burden, but an opportunity to become the best version of ourselves," the president continued. Dr. Seo Dong-wook helped us understand that civilizations either grow by helping others or die by focusing only on themselves. We choose growth. Admiral Choi felt relief and excitement. "We will inform the keepers of Earth's decision." The team returned to the Dyson sphere one final time. When they entered the crystal chamber, thousands of keepers were waiting, their energy forms brighter than ever before. "We have made our decision," Admiral Choi announced. "Humanity accepts the responsibility of becoming keepers." The chamber exploded with light as all the keepers responded at once. "You have passed the third and final test," their collective voice said. "Unity means making decisions for the good of all, not just for yourselves." Suddenly, the entire chamber began to change. The crystals moved and arranged themselves in new patterns, creating access points to different sections of their vast knowledge. "Welcome to the community of keepers," the ancient being said. "You are now guardians of galactic knowledge and helpers of younger civilizations." One of the largest crystals floated down to the humans. "This contains the basic knowledge you will need to begin your new role. Technologies for energy, medicine, space travel, and communication. But more importantly, it contains the locations of civilizations that need help." Dr. Mi-young reached out and touched the crystal. Information flowed into her mind, showing her scientific principles that would take human scientists centuries to discover on their own. "The knowledge is organized by difficulty level," the keepers explained. "You will learn gradually, as your species becomes ready for each new level of understanding." Engineer Taemin received information about building techniques that could create structures spanning entire solar systems. The possibilities were beyond imagination. "There are currently 47 civilizations in this galaxy that need assistance," the keepers continued. "Some face natural disasters, others struggle with diseases, and some are trapped on dying worlds. You will help them as we have helped you." Captain Daeho asked the important question: "How do we balance helping others with taking care of our own people?" "You will find that helping others teaches you how to help yourselves," the keepers replied. "The knowledge you gain from each rescue mission will benefit humanity as well." The keepers showed them images of other species that had become keepers in the past. Each civilization had grown stronger and wiser through their service to others. They had built magnificent cultures that lasted for millions of years. "Your first mission will be to help a species called the Talnari," the keepers said. "Their world is being destroyed by volcanic activity. They have the intelligence to travel in space, but they lack the technology to evacuate their population." Han Sora received detailed information about the Talnari language and culture. "They are a peaceful species that values art and philosophy. They have been trying to solve their planet's problems for 300 years. We will help them," Admiral Choi promised. "The Dyson sphere will serve as your base of operations," the keepers explained. "Sections of it will be adjusted for human habitation. From here you can coordinate rescue missions across the galaxy." Pilot Nam Ki-young was amazed by the scope of their new responsibilities. "We are going from exploring one star system to being responsible for an entire galaxy." "You will not be alone," the keepers assured them. "Other keeper species will help train you. The Zenthari have been keepers for 2 million years, and the Orvani have served for even longer. They will teach you everything you need to know." Over the following weeks, more human ships arrived at the Dyson sphere. Scientists, engineers, doctors, and diplomats came to begin humanity's new role as galactic keepers. The sphere adapted to accommodate human needs, creating living spaces, laboratories, and communication centers. It became humanity's first embassy to the galaxy, a place where they could coordinate their efforts to help other civilizations. Dr. Mi-young was appointed as the first human director of galactic knowledge. Her job was to study the information provided by the ancient keepers and decide how to share it with humanity gradually. Captain Daeho became the first human ambassador to the keeper community. He would work with other species to coordinate rescue missions and share resources. Engineer Taman was put in charge of adapting alien technologies for human use. His team would figure out how to build the tools needed for galactic rescue operations. 6 months later, humanity completed its first mission as keepers. They successfully evacuated the entire Talnari population from their dying world, and helped them establish new colonies on 3 different planets. In return, the Talnari shared their advanced artistic techniques and philosophical insights with humanity. As President Kang Ye-jin had predicted, helping others helped humanity grow. Each rescue mission taught them new skills and expanded their understanding of the universe. They learned that there were thousands of different ways to be intelligent, and each species had unique gifts to offer. The Dyson sphere became a symbol of cooperation between species. Ships from dozens of different civilizations docked there regularly, sharing knowledge and coordinating efforts to help species in need. Admiral Choi, now retired but still serving as an advisor, often stood in the observation deck looking out at the busy traffic around the sphere. "We came here looking for new worlds to colonize," he told visitors. "Instead, we found a new purpose for our entire species. Humanity had proven itself worthy of joining the galactic community. They had shown compassion, wisdom, and unity. Most importantly, they had learned that true advancement came not from taking what they needed, but from giving what they could." The hidden mysteries of the Dyson sphere had been revealed, and with them, humanity had discovered its destiny among the stars. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they would make sure that no other species would be alone either.